Hey, gang. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you for joining me, if there's anybody here, for a live stream that I haven't done in, boy, it's probably been 3 months since I've done a live stream. Time flies. It seems like it was just yesterday, doesn't it? If there's anybody out there, hit me up in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me okay and you can see everything okay. That would be a big help. And yeah, I thought it's been a long time. I've been really busy. And so I figured I got a little bit of time tonight before a busy weekend. So I thought, you know what? I probably should jump on here and say hi to everybody. If anybody shows up, great. If nobody shows up, hey, that's okay. And I can give people kind of an update on what's going on here with, let me turn down my vocal a little bit here. Hopefully I'm not too clipping on anybody. Kind of just update the two channels on where we are. We're broadcasting on both Home Recording Made Easy and Mixing Music Analog. Because, geez, I haven't done live streams in so long. I just figure we'll do them on both channels. It's just easier that way. So I hope you're all doing well. And again, thanks so much for joining me. And if you're watching this on the replay, thanks for watching the replay. And I hope you guys are getting geared up and ready for your summer. And everybody's well, healthy, and so on and so forth. So I think there's a few people here. Higher Ground is here. Let me see. Can I put these on the screen now? I sure can. Hi, Higher Ground. How are you, buddy? Good to see you. Good to see you. David S.J. Hey, brother. How you doing, my friends? Good to see you as always. Hey, Zach. How are you? Good to see you. Hope you're all doing well. Dig your little logo there. You're in a pool. That's cool. Hope you guys are all doing well. It's funny because it's weird because I didn't even think to do I didn't even plan to do this. But the last couple of days I've gotten, a couple of emails, and then there were two emails, and then there was, I think, 1 or 2 comments on one of the videos on one of the channels asking me, a couple of people like, hey, you okay, man? We haven't seen any new YouTube videos come out of you in a while. Hope everything's okay. Thank you so much for checking in. Yes, everything is fine. I'm just a busy guy. And, YouTube has been kind of put on the back burner on both channels, really. Not as much at Home Recording Made Easy, although I haven't done a new video for them in about a month. It's been a couple of months for Mixing Music Analog. I haven't done any new videos. And there's a couple that are plans, but nothing really earth-shattering that's coming up. I've just been kind of busy doing other things, which we could talk about if you guys are interested. And quite frankly, I've been doing YouTube for 12 years. 12 years of YouTube, a video every single week on one of those channels for those 12 years. And then Mixing Music Analog, we've been on this channel about 4 years, a video every week, sometimes more than one video early on. So I think between the two channels, I got like 3,500 videos over 12 years. And I'm getting kind of over it. I'm kind of just not, YouTube doesn't excite me these days, doing YouTube. I probably just need to take a break for a while I'm doing a bunch of other things to keep busy and to service, private students and clients. And then maybe at one point I'll get back into the YouTube swing. But right now, kind of taking a break. I have a few videos I need to do for Mixing Music Analog, a couple of gear demos that I've committed to do, which I'll probably do some of those in the next week or two, and those will get posted. But then beyond that, there's not a whole lot planned for Mixing Music Analog as far as videos go, at least not for now. Maybe at one point if I come up with some cool ideas or I get inspired to do something, maybe I will. But I'm out of gear demos. I only got a few more to do. And I'm totally out of gear demos. And honestly, I don't even want to do any more gear demos. I was approached this week by a company to send me something, and I just politely turned them, declined and just said, no, thank you. Because I don't need any more equipment. I'm actually going to be selling some equipment that I'm not using, and I've kind of know what I like and what I don't like. And I'm just keeping with that. So doing more gear demos doesn't excite me at all. I've done so many of them, and I had fun doing them. I learned a lot about a lot of equipment, and I got I got a really opportunity to to pick what I like and, you know, what I don't like and kind of learn. That's really cool. But as far as doing more gear demos and bringing more gear in here, unless it's something really cool and really unique that excites me and like, oh, that would be really cool to do, there probably won't be any for a while. Probably for the rest of this year, to be totally honest. Unless something really cool comes out that I'm not aware of. Yeah, and then who knows? You never know. You never know. So we'll see. We'll see. So the Mixing Music Analog YouTube channel is, you know, it's not going to be very active probably for the remainder of this year. A little bit here and there, a little bit, but nothing nothing exciting to really talk about because I don't really feel like doing it, to be honest. Not to mention, I'm so busy. I mean, it's been so great. I mean, no sooner do I get through one mix for somebody, I get hired to do something else, which is great. I'm not complaining, believe you me. I just finished a full rock album about 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I did a 10 or 12 song record. And then I just got hired to do another 6-song record. And then today I got another email about another client that wants to do another 6 songs on something totally different, some indie rock thing, which is great. And then there's a couple of singles thrown in there, a couple of punk rock things, so which is awesome. So I've been busy that I don't even have time to make YouTube videos for the Mixing Music Analog channel. The console's always tied up, which is great. So yeah, home recording made easy a little different. Because I do have some things I want to do over there. Plus, I'm in the middle of almost done now, rebuilding all of my training courses, which we can talk about. Let's see who else is here. DB3. Hey, DB3, what's going on, brother? Hi, Ernest. How are you? And Rex, good to see you as well. Let me know what channel you're watching from, because we're running on 2 channels tonight. DB3 said it would be cool if you had an instrumental or a song submission and a critique and give him your feedback. No interest to do that. I do mix critiques and I do stuff for private students. I've toyed with that idea over the years about doing stuff and for YouTube and doing mixed critiques, but I do a lot of private ones like that. I just did one today. I do a lot of critiques for students already, and I enjoy doing those, but to just do them on YouTube for the sake of doing them, it just doesn't excite me, DB. I'm sorry. Unless there's something that on YouTube anyway that really excites me, I'm like, oh, that would be really cool. I haven't done that in a while, or we've never done that before. I have no interest to really do a whole lot of stuff like that. But if people want mixed critiques and they want feedback or private coaching and all that, I do that. All you gotta do is hit me up through either one of my websites, and I do that for students. Geez, every week, I'm doing mixed critiques. So I do a lot of mixed critiques, which are great. I love doing them, but it won't be done on YouTube. At least not now. Maybe, who knows? Maybe one day. I don't know. Yeah, thanks for understanding. It just doesn't excite me at all. And I think it's just because I've been doing YouTube for so long. I've been doing it I think my first video on home recording made easy, the YouTube channel, was in late 2012, early 2013. So it's been at least, yeah, it's definitely in 2013. It might even go back to 2012. So that's like 12 years, 13 years of YouTube. And for the most part, I mean, with the exception of a couple of pockets, over those 13 years, for the most part, especially at Home Recording Made Easy, there's been a video every single week without fail. And early on, when I first started doing YouTube, there were 2 videos a week. For years and years, I never missed. And even some of those videos are always hit or miss. Some of them weren't very good. Some of them were filler videos, but I had content every single week. And so, yeah, after 13 years of doing that, I'm just getting tired of doing it. And then the Mixing Music Analog channel, as I said, that started in late 2020, or no, excuse me, early 2021. because the console was purchased in 2021, and there were videos, maybe a handful of videos before the console was even delivered. And then in the first couple of years of this channel, Mixing Music Analog, there were 2 videos a week, every week. I don't know, for at least 2 years, maybe longer. And then it went down to 1 video, and I'd been doing 1 video consistently, all through the end of last year, and even at the beginning of this year. So I think on Mixing Music Analog, there's got to be 300 and some odd videos there, maybe a little more. On Home Recording Made Easy, there's over 2,000. There's probably closer to 2,500. So between the 2 channels, probably pushing 3,000 videos at this point. And so, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so, yeah. So, yeah, there's just nothing there. But you know, and it's funny because it was really kind of, I wasn't planning on taking a break from YouTube. I took a break for about a month because I was rebuilding all of my training courses at Home Recording Made Easy. So for 2025, this week, or the end of last week, excuse me, the end of last week, I finished the last course. So between November in 2024 and last week, over the last 6 or 7 months, I rebuilt like 13 courses completely from the ground up. So the last time I had done that was back in 2019, 2020, during the pandemic. 2020 is when I released all those courses. And then 5 years later, I said, it's time to refresh them. It's time to completely rebuild them, you know, teach them in a different way, you know, teach them with different workflows and those kinds of things. And so for the last, you know, month or so, that's all I've been focused on, trying to finish that up because I wanted to get that project behind me. Because if anyone's tried to make 13 training courses in a row, it's stressful and it's tiring. But I finished. And during that time, I says, you know what, I'm just going to take a break from YouTube because I need to focus on this. I can't focus on YouTube. And then when I was taking that break during that month, even though I was really busy doing other things, you know, oddly enough, YouTube, you know, I didn't miss doing YouTube videos. And YouTube, in the month or so that I wasn't doing YouTube, it hasn't affected my business at all. It hasn't affected my course. Nothing in my business. If anything, I've been busier. So YouTube isn't, you know, it doesn't really affect my business one way or the other. I do it because I enjoy doing it when I did enjoy doing it. And I know it's kind of nice to take a break. And I kind of says, I'm really not looking that forward to going back to YouTube videos. So we'll see. So anyway, if you're at the Home Recording Made Easy channel, you know, all of, like I said, every training course has been rebuilt from the ground up, and they're all being released one at a time. Some of them haven't been officially released yet, but they're all redone. So if you haven't seen one of my training courses in 5 years, you can go check those out if you would. And I think you'll enjoy those. And there'll be more, you know, there'll be more videos for Home Recording Made Easy down the road. I don't know how far down the road, maybe not that far down the road, but maybe I'll take off for the rest of the summer. Maybe kick it back off in the fall. Who knows? Who knows? Ernest says, "Hey Dave, hey Ernest, how are you, buddy? Did you know that the price of the SL-Large went up to $60K at Sweetwater?" I did not. Well, that's probably because of all the tariff talk. Yeah, no, even before all the tariff talk, it was around 55, I think. I only paid 49 for mine. And I know someone, a studio owner, a friend of mine that just sold his. I think he's getting out of the studio business, and he sold his. I don't know what he sold it for, but he did sell it. I asked him, but he wouldn't respond. So maybe he didn't want to tell me what he gave it away for, but he sold his. Yeah, they're going up. Yeah. Probably because all the parts are made in China, and so we all know what's going on there. So, yeah, these things are not going to get any cheaper. Like I said, you know, I'm glad I bought mine when I did. It's funny because like a month or two after I bought mine, David S.J. could probably remember better than me. He's usually got a better memory than I do. We talked about it. I remember I think a month after I got mine delivered, they went up $5,000, just like that. Because that's when you know, we were having all kinds of problems. Remember back in the COVID with all the part shortages and supply chain disruptions, and it went up like from from 49 to 55 or 56, and it pretty much stayed there this whole time. And now you're saying it's going up to 60. Wow. Yeah. Well, it's still, again, I still think it's for even at $60,000. I still say, unless something new has come out recently that I'm not aware of, I still say at that price bracket, I don't know that you could find a more fully featured console for that price. The only one that makes something very, very close to it is Audience. And I'm not sure what their prices are anymore. But they were in the ballpark, if I remember correctly. So yeah. So if you're looking for a console, 60 grand is still a great deal for this thing. I love mine. I love mine a lot. Hey, Robert, how are you, brother? Dave says, I certainly can understand not wanting to be a slave to the algorithm. Yeah, no, you know, I don't even feel like I'm a slave to the algorithm. I don't even look, you know, it's funny because there are people who have really got the YouTube thing down, man. And they, you know, and I've tried over the years to try to be like that. And it's just not me, or I just not talented enough or whatever. But, you know, when I've seen, especially in our, you know, especially in our space, in the audio space, you know, there's 3 or 4 channels out there that came out, you know, maybe only a couple of years ago. And within 6 or 8 months, they had like 100,000 subscribers. They're just like flying, you know, flying high, which is great. Good for them. I've been around, you know, 12 years and I can't get 100,000 subscribers. So I don't know what, you know, their videos, and they make really great videos, and, you know, the production value is much higher than mine. And, you know, you know, there's a certain way to do YouTube if you want to do that. And I just never wanted to really do that. I just, you know, I don't, you know, they do all kinds of research, I'm sure, and, you know, thumbnail design research and title research, and they look at analytics and they do all that stuff, because a lot of those guys now, they're YouTubers. That's their main gig, and that's, hey, good for them. I mean, I'm sure they're doing really well, and I wish them nothing but all the luck in the world, man, and good for them. But I'm not that, and I've never really wanted to be that. I've tried over the years to try to crack the algorithm and figure out how the hell do these guys put out a video and get 50,000 views in the first 2 weeks, and I'll put out the same video and get, you know, 1,000 views. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I'm just going to chalk it up to they know how to make better YouTube videos than I do, and that's okay. But I've never wanted to be a YouTuber as the main part of my job. I do YouTube and have done YouTube this whole time, really because I enjoyed it and I liked meeting people and helping people, and it was fun for me. It really wasn't a business model, at least not for me. And so, yeah, so that's not where I make my money. I make no money on YouTube in the big scheme of things. So, I don't know how they do it. Some of those guys, I'm jealous of them, but you know, everybody's got to do their own thing. And, so yeah, so I've never even tried to really, you know, figure out the algorithm and all of that. I mean, like I said, I've tried over the years, I've tried a couple of times to say, how the hell do these guys do that? And I've never been able to figure it out. I've never been able to figure it out. I just think, you know, you got to make really great content. And some of those channels really do make great content. They really do. Their videos are way produced, really slick, way better than my videos from that point of view. I mean, way better. I'm the first one to say it. But I have no desire to do that. So you know, hey, what are you going to do? I do it for fun, and I like helping people and meeting people, and that's it. And, you know, when I get tired of doing it, I take a break, or I'll stop doing it altogether. Then I don't have to worry about it. But I'll tell you the one thing that I have, not in the audio engineering, not in the pro audio space, but in the guitar space, I have a couple of friends that have huge YouTube channels in the guitar space. And these guys are, I mean, they're killing it, man. And they make a really good living doing it. But that's their gig. Their whole gig is YouTube and sponsored paid, videos, with companies, pedal companies, guitar companies, that kind of thing. Kind of like what I do here, but they do it on a much bigger scale, and they do really well. But some of those guys, they work 365 days a year. These guys are doing videos every other day of the week. And it's a real grind when I talk to them. I could just see it in them. They're like, they make a lot of money, but they're worn down. And the only thing I ever worry about with that is, you think when you're at that level, you really think you're not really working for yourself anymore. You're working for Google, or you're working for, the companies that are hiring you to do their product placements and those kinds of things, which is cool. But if that thing goes away, or, not that YouTube's going to go away, but who knows, man? Who knows what's going to happen one day, or if they change the way, and this has happened to me about 3 years ago. I think it was, where I saw a significant drop in my ad money because they changed the algorithm. They, every so often YouTube would reset things and your pay would be cut in a third. And I said, what happens if they decide to change all of that? And all these guys that are really relying on YouTube ad money, if that all changes, it's like, you could be screwed. You really don't have any control. And that always worried me about that, where I never wanted to build a business where I had to rely on a YouTube or something like that, And the next Elon Musk buys out YouTube the way he bought out Twitter, and God only knows what happens. So anyway, yeah. So I really feel for those guys that work. I'm really proud of them, of how great they've done on YouTube. But I always, say to my friends, a couple of my friends, like, aren't you nervous about if something changes on YouTube? You could be out of a gig just like that, and you have no control over it. I'd be worried about that, but I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, yeah. DB3, yeah, there are plenty of channels out there that do that, but I like how Dave explains what he hears. And I'm a Studio One user. Oh, nice, man. And no one dives deep into it and consistently, and it's consistently changing. I hear you, though. Yeah, no, I appreciate the compliment. Well, I mean, if you ever want me to do, mix stuff for you or review your stuff, or you want to, I do private coaching and mix stuff. I do it every day. So yes, it's not free. I'm not going to tell you it's free, because it's not. It's how I make a living. But if you want access for me to help you that way, I can do it. I can do it. I can definitely do it. But yeah, and yeah, and they're like I said, there's lots of channels out there that do mixed reviews and do giveaways and stuff. And I there was a time where I almost was going to do something like that. But there's just too many other people that do it, and I kind of pride myself in a way that I'm not. And again, I don't mean this in a bad way to anyone else. I'm not like those other channels. Like, I always felt like I'm a little bit of an outsider when it comes to the YouTube community in the audio engineering space. Like, there's lots of channels and stuff, lots of people. You know all the big names. I don't have to mention them. There's only about 10 of them. And sometimes I'll see them on each other's channels and they collaborate together. And I've never been a part of that. I've never, there's been times many years ago where, I tried to reach out to a couple of them here and there, and they never got back to me or whatever. And so now I've kind of made it I kind of like the fact that I'm not really part of that, not that that is bad. It's not. I feel like I'm just different. And that's probably why I'm not as successful as them. And again, I'm okay with that, because like I said, I'm not really looking to be a YouTube influencer. If I influence some of you and I've helped some of you, then awesome, man. But I just want to get the joy out of doing that, and I don't need any other thing from it. So, but I appreciate the kind words, DB. I really do. Hey, Chris, how are you? Maybe just stick to live stream so you at least have people to talk to. Yeah, maybe. It's funny. I don't mean to. Well, we're just talking, right? Like, as buddies. Even tonight, you notice I don't schedule my live streams, right? There's a reason why I don't schedule them. Number one, because I don't have a lot of time. And number two, because I got to tell you, there's been a few times where I schedule them and I cancel them because I just don't, I'm not motivated to do them. You know how many live streams I've done over the last 12 years? And I do enjoy talking to you guys every now and I do. But even tonight, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And there was a second there where I almost wasn't going to even come on tonight. I'm just like, I've been working all day, doing my private students. I did 3 private students today, a mix review today, working on a promo video for the new training course. And I was just like, do I really want to come on here? And, but now I'm glad I'm here once I'm here. I think at one point I just have to kind of reevaluate how I want to do the whole YouTube thing and maybe do something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly a thought. It's certainly a thought. But it is cool to catch up with people every so often as well. I don't know. Maybe one of you guys tonight will give me a wonderful idea that I haven't thought of, and that'll spark that'll light the spark under my ass to do something more. Who knows? Hey, Right Sound Studios, tuning in, catching up fast at 2 times. Oh, cool. Oh, you caught up to us live. Nice. Okay, great to have you. Great to have you. The origin was 56,000 by the end. See, I knew Dave would know. It was 56,000 by the end of 2021. It was 65,000 for a time. I didn't realize that, Dave. But it didn't stay there long. Oh, it dropped. Dave's saying it dropped again when the 16 channel, right, they're right. There was a 16 channel version that came out. And then the price dropped again. I don't know how well that 16 channel version sells. I don't know what they sell that for. I think it's around 35,000. It seems a lot to me. Not that it seems like, because there wasn't a 16 channel origin when I bought mine. It came out like a year later, I think, as Dave was mentioning there. And people asked me, would you have bought the 16? And for a second I thought about it, but honestly, no, I wouldn't have. I really like having 32 faders and 32 EQs. I mean, you could do it with 16. You just a lot more comping you got to do in the box, which is totally fine. But I don't know, $35,000 seems like a lot to me for 16 channels. But it's 20,000 less than the 32. When you think of it that way, you say, well, yeah, they probably priced it out perfectly, but I don't know that I would have done the 16. And I wonder how many of those they actually sell. They probably sell a lot. I know when I spoke to SSL last, when we were talking about their console, this is the #1 selling console they have. Which makes sense because of the price point, because once you get past the origin, you're into the AWS, and that's where you're over 100,000 and up. I think the AWS, they have 2 versions of it, or at least they did. The 916 and the 948, where it's a 924 and a 948. The only difference between those 2 consoles, they all have 24 motorized faders, but the difference is on the 16 or the lower model, every channel's mono only, like this board, 32 mono faders. On the 948, there's 24 faders, but each individual channel can be turned into mono or stereo. So you can have 48 stereo tracks, so if you had like a stereo piano coming out of your DAW, I would have to put it on 2 separate faders, 2 mono faders. You could put it on 1 stereo fader. So that's cool. And I think there might be something else in that 948 that makes it a little different. But I think that one's like 130 something thousand. And then when you get beyond that, you're into the duality. And now you're at like 200K plus. Something like that. Crazy amount of way more than I'm willing to spend. But yeah. YouTube as a business model doesn't seem to be sustainable though. A channel can crash out for many yeah. Yeah, unless you got 1 million subscribers. But I know, like I said, I know a couple of guitar channels, not in the pro audio space, because I don't know those guys really. I don't know any of them, really. I know of them, but I don't know any of them. Like, I've never even spoken to any of them. The only person I've ever spoken to personally is Warren Hewitt. Never spoken to any of the other guys, so I don't know them personally. But in the guitar world, I do. And there's a couple of guys that, you know, they easily make 6 figures a year just in ad money. Easily. Because they've told me. And that's on top of all the money they get paid to do, you know, the demos for the companies. So they do really well. But I always tell them, I hope you're saving your money for a rainy day, because that gravy train can't last forever. But yeah, but they're really successful at it, man. But I mean, I have one friend in particular. I don't want to mention his name because I don't know if he'd want me to. But this guy has probably $250,000 invested just in video equipment to make his videos. I mean, he has multiple sets. He uses all like the Blackmagic 8K, 4K. I mean, he uses like top end stuff. He truly has, it's almost like it's a television studio. I mean, that's the kind of the investment that he has put into that. Every video he does has 5, 6 different camera angles. He's got all kinds of stuff to do. You know, he puts products on slider. I mean, it's crazy the amount of stuff that he's got invested just in the video end of making those videos. But his videos are spectacular, man. He makes really great videos. But it's a production and a half, and the editing must be unbelievable to do what he's doing. So yeah, they make a lot of money, at least he does. But they invest a ton of money to make that kind of money. You got some great videos, though. I've always learned good stuff from you. Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Rex. I really appreciate that. I don't know. I think my videos are good from an information point of view. They're just not great from a production, you know, slick-looking infomercial point of view. And the only reason why they're not, to be totally honest with you, is I don't have the time to do that. I don't have the time to do that kind of video editing. There was a time where I explored hiring a video editor, but the good ones are so expensive it didn't make any sense. Because like I said, I don't make any money on YouTube. I make so little money on YouTube. If you know, when you break down per hour what it costs me to do my 2 YouTube videos, and if I did, you know, 2 a week, 1 for each channel, you know, each week, that's 8 videos a month. If you figured out what I was really making per hour, it's like minimum wage. It's a joke, to be totally honest. And that's not doing any high quality production, editing, and all that stuff. So, you know, a good video editor wants $200, $300, $400 to edit 1 video, you know, and that just doesn't make any sense for me. So, but I do pride myself on making sure the information is really good. You know, and try to, you know, be as helpful as I possibly can, but they're bare bones. There's no real editing, and, you know, what you see is what you get live, you know, pretty much. And that's the way all my training courses are too, by the way. And those are done by design that way. They're done by design. So if you take one of my courses, whether it's a beginner course or it's an advanced mixing course or anything in between, it's almost like you're sitting in the room with me. You see the whole thing. You see everything. There's no, you know, cuts and take out the mistakes. And you see the whole thing really from start to finish. And unless I, you know, sneeze or cough or have a, you know, spit up all over myself or something, aside from that, there's no edits. None. 0. And that's why my training courses are very lengthy, because I give you so much content, and also I don't edit them because I want you to have like a real world experience. Whereas most training products you buy are very scripted and very slick. They're nice, right? But they're very chopped down and they're very boiled down. And I don't like to make training courses that way because, again, I like to be different. And Everybody makes training courses like that. Nobody makes training courses like I do. That much I can that much I can assure you, regardless of what people charge for them. But I appreciate the kind words, my friends. Higher Ground says, I ended up partnering with a friend, some commercial studio space. Nice, to keep his studio in New Jersey going. Watching your videos really helped me make some decisions on about what's in my racks. You're very welcome, Higher Ground. That's awesome. I'm glad we were able to help you with your studio and your buddy's studio. That's awesome, man. That's good to hear. Well, that's why we made the channel, to try to help people. Nice board. Thank you, Jem. Good to see you. What's up? I joined late, so forgive me. Oh, no, there's no time schedule here. We're on whatever time you get here, you get here. I joined late, so forgive me if you've already talked about it. I'd like to see, is there any, there is a Mixing Made Easy 2025. There is. I have the previous version. Is there anything different? Yes. Okay. We could talk about, good. You asked, and I'll talk about those courses. Yes. So here's what we've done at Home Recording Made Easy for people that want to know. And I'm going to be brutally honest, like I always am with everybody, of why the courses have been rebuilt. So here's the deal. I'm going to give you a 5-minute brief history on Home Recording Made Easy. So for the people that don't care, you can go to sleep now for 5 minutes. We'll wake you up when we're done. So Home Recording Made Easy, the website, and the first training course that I ever created, which was called Mixing Made Easy, not Volume 1, Volume 2, like just Mixing Made Easy, was released Labor Day weekends of 2014. That was the first thing I released as a training product. There was a YouTube channel, as I said, but that was the first thing. And then from 2014 to 2019, because Mixing Made Easy, the training course, it was a beginner's mixing course, did really well. So I said, oh, we have a beginner's course. Let me make a volume 2. And then we made a compression made easy. Then we made an EQ made easy. Then I made a mastering made easy. And then I made, I think at that time, Mixing Made Easy Volume 4, which was the difference between stock plugins and third-party plugins. That's still a super popular course. Then people asked me to make courses that were more Studio One specific, so I did 3 of those. So between 2014 and 2019, I don't know, there was probably 12 or 13 training courses, somewhere in that ballpark. And they were built across those 4 or 5 years. And during that time, because I had never made a training course before, I had never even filmed myself doing anything other than YouTube videos with a crappy little $20 webcam. Those courses were, the information was really good, but again, from a production value, from a quality, they were really, now in hindsight, pretty bad because I didn't know what I was doing. I just turned, I had no idea what I was doing. In those first courses, I didn't even have the wherewithal to give the student the multi-track files so you could mix with me. You were just watching me mix. You didn't even get files. I didn't have the wherewithal to do that. Don't ask me why. And because it was over a 5-year period, the courses didn't look like, the course that I did in 2014. By the time I got to 2018, they weren't cohesive. They didn't look the same, right? Because things have changed in my studio. I started to learn more about cameras and sound, and I started to figure out how to do the whole education thing. So I had a kind of a mishmash of training courses by 2019. Then we got hit with the pandemic, and in 2020, I had finally dialed everything in to where I kind of had a process, right? And I said, you know what? I'm going to just replace all of these courses so they all look like they came out at the same time. The look of the videos look the same. Everything had a cohesion to them. And that's what I did. So in 2020, I rebuilt all the courses and then added a couple new ones. I added the Mixing Masterclass Volume 1. I think I added Mixing with Analog Style Plugins Made Easy, that one. And there might have been a couple of others in there. I tried to fill out the catalog. And then I kept those for 5 years. And they've been selling for 5 years really, really well. And I get new people coming into my website literally every single day that buy courses from me. And I'm so grateful. And then roll forward, late 2024, I had said, okay, the courses now are 5 years old. I've gotten even better at doing these. I had a different look in the way I wanted the courses to look, the way I wanted them to feel. I wanted to make sure I had really great multi-track files, and a lot of the multi-track files in the new courses are, I'd say about half of them, you can't get anywhere else. They're not free tracks that you can download off of some website. That's how the old courses used to be. These are not. Some of them are. Most of them aren't. They're from personal clients of mine, most of the tracks. And so I said, you know, in 2025, we had a new version of Studio One come out. I was doing at that time, and I'm going to get to your answer, I promise you. You know, I also started to put out, I got a console. You guys, we talked about that. I started putting out hybrid mixing courses. And so I wanted to make sure, again, everything looked the same, cohesive. I wanted to make sure that the way I was making these courses in 2020, 5 years later, I feel like I got even better at teaching this stuff. Not just the look of the courses, but the way it's presented. Every time I do these, I get better and better. And I felt like, too, that, you know, especially all the ones on the Home Recording Made Easy, where it's all in the box with plugins, right? Most of them, except for the hybrid courses. I wanted to make sure I was using updated plugins. I wanted to make sure I was using the new stuff that people wanted to see, the things that people had. No one wants to see a plugin from 15 years ago. Nobody wants to see a DAW that's 4 or 5 versions old. So I decided I was going to refresh them all this year, and I was going to rebuild them, not refresh them, completely replace them and teach them from the ground up. So your question was, is there anything different? Okay, so if you have the original Mixing Made Easy Volume 1, for example, or any of the courses, the new version is still a beginner's course. It's taught at the same skill level, experience level, but there's a different song to mix. Some of the workflow tips are a little different because my workflow has changed over the years, so I'm teaching that. I've added some additional PDFs and handouts and things that I didn't do in the first one or didn't do as well in the first versions from 5 years ago. So overall, they're better presented. I feel they're better courses. And so, you know, when I put them on sale, you can get them at 50% off, and they're really worth the upgrade. And I've never had anybody upgrade any of my courses and write me an email and say they didn't like it. Not once. So I feel like they're worth having, to be completely honest, with you. So yeah, that's how they're different. But I feel like they're way better. Because I've just gotten better. And now I'm like, okay, this will be good for the next 4 or 5 years. And in 4 or 5 years, maybe I'll rebuild them again. We'll see. But the real reason why I did that, like some people say, I had one person on Facebook, I think, wrote some nasty comment saying, you know, don't buy anything from this guy. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't support his old courses. He's just trying to sell you new stuff. He'd say it was a money grab. So in other words, I'm upgrading the Mixing Made Easy course so I can get more money out of you. Honest to God, it's not for the people who have the originals. If you want to upgrade, great, and I love you for it, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. Who are these new courses for? Are for all the new people coming in, which I have 10, 12, 15 a day, every day, come into the website for the first time. Either download the free course on my homepage or buy one of my courses. And I want them to have the latest and greatest so it looks modern. It looks 2025. It's not, I didn't really rebuild them just so I can charge everybody that bought the originals more money. If you want to upgrade, you can, and I would appreciate if you did. I think you'll enjoy them. But if you don't, that's okay too. The older courses are still great. They are. There's nothing wrong with them. It's really for the new folks coming in. So that's really the history around all the training courses. So they've all been rebuilt. And the way you'll know they're rebuilt, they all say the 2025 edition. The ones in 2020 said the 2020 edition. So that's how you know whether it's been rebuilt or not. There's only one course left on the website that's from 2020. And that's the mastering course. And that one I'm going to hold off for a little while. But every other course has been rebuilt. If you see 2025, it's been built in the last 6 months. It's brand new. And it's not like the old ones that you have in the past. Not exactly. I hope that answers your question. I hope that answers your question. Motorized faders. Yep, these don't have them. That's how you motorize them, with my hands. I haven't been on this account for years. The first time I'm seeing you, actually, Gladys subbed a long time ago. Why haven't I been on it in years? That's too bad. But I'm glad you're here, finally. I think you got some of the most informative videos out there. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. Like I said, I really think the content that we do put out on both channels is really good. I think it's really good. It's the best that I know how to do it. And I think it is different than most other people to some degree. You know, but you know how it is, right? Everyone's taste is a little different, and some people love my videos, some people hate my videos, and that's okay. That's okay. What do you think about the Porak House H1020? I have no idea what that is. I'm thinking about getting an Allen Heath Wizard 1414-2, but the Pro Rack might be the better option. No idea. Sorry, I couldn't help you with that one. I've never even heard of that, so I don't know. Dave thought the 16 channel was silly. Oh, you mean the Origin? Yeah, I don't know if it was silly. Yeah, well, I don't know. There must have been a demand for it, or else they wouldn't have done it, right? You would think. I mean, basically all they did was just chop off the second half of the console. Everything else is the same. 16 groups, the master section, everything's exactly the same. I don't know. I'll have to ask them next time I talk to them how they sell compared to this one. I wonder if they sell a ton of them. They probably do. Right Sound says he's seen the 16 in small project rooms and audio schools. Oh, you know, audio schools, that makes total sense. That makes total sense, man. Yeah, I mean, I guess in a school, you don't need to have a big, 16. Once you learned one channel, you've learned them all. And for most projects, most like, singer-songwriters, small bands, 16 channels enough. That's probably why you see them there. Hey, Fraser, what's up, brother? Hey, Dave, thank you so much for your free YouTube course. Oh, cool, man. Just started watching and learning so much. You know your stuff and you're a great teacher. Thank you, brother, and explaining things really, really well. Thank you so much for downloading the free course. Yeah, so if you go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com, there is a free course for everybody. It's a 90-minute course. It's a beginner's mixing course. So if you're not a beginner, you'll probably feel like it's not something you're going to learn a whole lot from. Although I take that back. I tell even my most advanced mixers, because sometimes, as you grow and progress and you get into more advanced tools, whether it's fancy plugins or hardware or what have you, you kind of forget what it's like to go back and to be really simple. And if you go back and watch that free course, you'll see I only use an EQ. It's the only plugin that I use, and it's a stock EQ, no less. And just trying to show that, for beginners especially to mixing music, or people who need a refresher or just need a kind of like come on back reality check, that you should be able to get a really good sounding mix with just an EQ if the tracks are recorded halfway decent. If you can't, then maybe you got to recalibrate yourself. So I encourage everyone to go get that free course. It's about 90 minutes, maybe it's 80, 90 minutes. It's not very long. It's 2 videos. It's short and sweet, it's to the point. And yeah, it's Help Fraser. SSL is making an announcement today. What is your prediction? I don't know. I mean, there are things I do know that I can't talk about, but I don't know if that's part of Tuesday's prediction. So I really don't know. There's just a couple of things that I know about, but I really can't say anything more than that because I'm under, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'm not really sure because I don't know what's coming on this Tuesday per se, but they're always working on stuff. That much I know. Audio Freaker. I don't care about fancy video production, so as long as the sound quality is clear. Yeah. Well, I try to make sure that the sound quality is as good as it can get, especially on on all my videos. But, I go through a lot of, you don't see a lot of it because it's hidden, but there's a lot of video gear here to capture video and audio in a way that I can make a good YouTube video. So I think I do okay on that, I think. Never mind the video gear. As I've always said, it's about the person and connection. Yeah, no, I get it, man. Yeah. You know, people come to a channel because they like the personality of the person, and especially if you're an education channel like I am, um, everybody relates to instructors differently, right? So I might click with you because you like my teaching style and it resonates with you, and then other people, it's the exact opposite experience, and that's totally natural. I can't please everybody all the time. I just teach the way I know how to teach, and some people like it, some people don't, but there's enough of you that do like it because they continue to come back and support what I do, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's through private training or whether they buy my training courses. And usually people that buy one training course from me buy multiple. It's very rare that someone buys one, doesn't like it, and doesn't come back. They either download the free one, because everybody likes free stuff, and there's a pretty good percentage of people that will never buy anything because they just want the free stuff, and that's cool. And then there's a percentage of people that once they buy the first one, they get so much out of it. They say, okay, when I'm ready to go to the next one, they come back and they come back. And there's a lot of people that have everything I've ever put out, which again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Even all the upgrades, I upgrade the course, they buy it. There's a lot of my students that do that, you know, and that's really great because if I don't have you guys to do that, then there is none. This stuff doesn't exist, right? The only way I can continue to be available as to help people, whether it's in a free format like YouTube or whether it's in a paid format through my private training and courses, the only way that exists is if people actually support what I do and spend some money. If I don't have that, there is no home recording made easy or mixing music analog or any of this. There's no Uncle Dave, no nothing. So I really do appreciate that I'm able to help so many people, and that makes me feel really good. And that's why I continue to do it, because I do enjoy helping people. I really enjoy when people get a lot out of it, and it's really awesome, especially in the people will buy my courses for years and then they'll finally hire me on, Zoom. We'll do a private call together, and they'll spend the first 15 minutes of that call just telling me how much I've helped them, which makes me feel so good. It's like I feel bad that I'm even charging them for the session, but they're just like, oh man, they're so excited. And that's great, because to be in your studio making music, you want to be creative, you want to be excited, you want to be inspired. And sometimes we've all been through it, right? You get into these ruts, you get stuck, you don't know what to do, you get frustrated, and sometimes you even think about quitting. So screw this, And then if someone could come along that can help break you through that, so you're excited about making music in your studio again, if I'm able to do that for some folks, then oh man, that's great, man. And so I love those kinds of calls, because it's good one-on-one feedback to know that, yeah, people go out and spend money with me, and if they didn't like what I did, they wouldn't spend any money, right? But it's way better to actually talk to some people live over the internet, and have people tell you face to face how much you've helped them. That's an amazing feeling, and that's what motivates me to keep doing this. Guys, I've been doing this since 2000. Like I said, the first course was in 2014, right? So 2014, 10 years, we're 11 years into just making training course. 11 years. That's a long time to be making training products. At least it's long. I never thought I'd be doing it 3 years, let alone 11. So sometimes, it's the people that support me that motivate me to keep doing them, because I know I'm helping people. If I wasn't helping people, then I wouldn't be doing them. So yeah. Hey, your channel has always helped us followers maintain a never curable case of gas. But really very thankful for all your work and all you do on the channel. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that, Tracy. I really appreciate it. I do. Your viewers stick around because they like your content and info. If you want to be a non-content, all clickbait channel, do what you got to do for the cash, but I'll be unsubscribing in that case. Well, I didn't say I was going to do that, so you could relax. No one ever said that. I'm not a clickbait channel, at least I don't try to be. I could be. Yeah, I can't stand a lot of music, YouTubers. Your content is always straightforward and to the point. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yes, I do. Basically, they're all just 16 channels and all analog mixes for live and mostly, but I want to use one mostly for live in the studio. Yep. And use mixing and mastering. I'm worried about the noise from the built-in power supply. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, you could buy one. I mean, I would assume you're going to buy it new, and if it's a problem, send it back. I wish I could help you. I wish I can help you. Yes, don't worry. Won't be breaking any NDAs. I have a few of them. That is a link to the announcement. Where? Oh, did you put it in there somewhere? I'll have to check it out. Dave Pensado is a legend, but I can't get on with his tutorials, for example. You are a good mixer and teacher. You explain things very well. Thank you very much. Dave Pensado is a legend. He's an absolute legend. But he works on music. He does a lot of pop and hip hop and stuff, and that's not my thing. So I don't really watch him. I mean, I've watched a lot of the Dave Pensado show years ago. I enjoyed watching him interview other famous people in the business. But yeah, the music and stuff that he mixes primarily, I think he does like a lot of pop and rap and hip hop and that stuff, and that's nothing I'm really interested in, so I really don't watch him. Less glamorous question. Is that Kingston Expert the best trackballs you've tried? Yes. Yeah, this is an old one and I've been using it for years, and Yep, I bought two of them. I have a brand new one in the back in case they stop making these as a backup. But yeah, this is the best one I've ever used. And not that I've used a lot of them, but this is the one that when I was looking, I saw a bunch of people using it and I bought it and I just got used to it and I like it. I'm not sure if links are allowed, so link a date. If they're not allowed, it's not because I did anything. You know, I don't know if they're allowed. I don't know if there's a setting somewhere I would have to change to let you do them. No problem at all, man. You're not stepping on my NDA. I wouldn't mention something if I didn't have an NDA and I didn't have a relationship with them and I was just guessing, I would guess. But I'm afraid to say something that I'm not supposed to say. Not that what I know is coming out on Tuesday, because I don't know if it is. I just, you know, sometimes I have information about stuff I know they're working on. I just don't know when it's coming out. You know what I mean? Took your masterclass last year, got a lot out of it. Awesome. Check out the masterclass volume 2. Really good course. Really good course. But thank you. Who's my favorite mixer? The two are my favorite are, there's really 3. And they're not in any particular order, but Chris Lord-Alge, Chris Baseford, and Bob Clearmountain. Not in that order necessarily, but I will say the way I'd set up my studio and the SSL, that was really heavily influenced by Chris Lord-Alge. Bob Clearmountain had an SSL, and I don't know if Chris Baseford works all in the box anymore or what he does, but I'm sure he's worked on many SSLs. But I kind of, when I was first setting up my studio, I used his kind of setup and his thought process and his more simplistic approach to the way I set things up. And then I've drifted away from some of that and some of it I've kept. But I've always been very very impressed with his mixing and the sound and the records that he's done. Yeah. Is that a genuine Eddie Van Halen guitar? Well, it's genuine, mean it's not a copy. It's not the $20,000 version. It's the Mexican or the EVH branded $1,800 guitar. You know, it's not one of the signature limited, you know, custom shop deals. Not one of those. But I like it anyway. Now, how could you not like an Eddie Van Halen guitar, right? Did you find that you started your process less when you started using more hardware? I find that I don't have to use many plugins as before. Let me see if I answer your question. Let me answer and I understand what you're saying. Do you find that you started processing? Oh, started processing, absolutely. I've said that in a lot of the courses, especially the mixing hybrid courses. Once I started using analog, that's what I say, everyone sees all this gear, and I can literally sell half of this gear, and I still wouldn't use every piece in every mix. The console does most of the heavy lifting. So yeah, I use way less processing when I started going analog, way less. And if you have not seen, if you check out my mixing with analog style plugins made easy course, the one that just dropped this week, the 2025 version, although the 2020 version is exactly the same in that the teaching's the same, I talk a lot about that, where that whole course is teaching you how to set up your DAW just like an analog workflow. And it's more than just saying, it's more than just, well, use a channel strip. It's way more than just that. So when you work in the box with the same mindset and workflow as you work analog, you'll have way less processing and way less plugins. That's the whole point of that course. And your mixing will be faster and you'll get more consistent mixes. That's for sure. But the answer to your question is yes. Oh, you mean volume 2? Okay, cool. Hey, Brian, how you doing, buddy? Happy Friday. Oh, you're more in the jazz and soul and R&B. I love jazz, soul, and R&B and jazz. I do a lot. I mix a lot of that stuff, especially jazz. So I do like, I got a couple of jazz tracks I was going to do on YouTube. And so, I mean, I was going to do them. I never got around to doing them. Was it a deliberate choice to go down motorized faders? Well, no, not deliberate in that the Origin didn't have motorized faders, so it wasn't even an option. Again, the only reason why I went with it really comes down to price. You can't buy a console with this many faders, with motorized faders, for anything less than $100,000, and that was just way out of my price bracket. And now in hindsight, I'm glad I didn't get motorized faders. The benefit to them obviously is for recall, and it's cool for automation. That's all really cool. But the one thing I learned about and I learned when I just recently did, maybe in the last 2 months on this channel, Mixing Music Analog, I did my 4 or 5 year review on the Origin. And I talk in that video about, you know, again, this is a way cheaper console compared to those consoles. But there's also, in almost 5 years, there hasn't been a single issue with this console. From a maintenance standpoint, it's been absolutely zero. Nothing. Knock on wood, because that'll happen. Now tomorrow, something will break, right? And when I was talking to the engine guys over at SSL, we were just talking about consoles and stuff, and they said, the one benefit, yes, the AWS, the Duality, or any other console that has motorized faders and all those bells and whistles, they're awesome. But there's a lot of moving parts in them. There's a lot more technology in them, and so, after 3 or 4 years, it's pretty common that a lot of those consoles need lots of maintenance. And they continually need maintenance because things break down, motorized things break down, things get stuck, they don't move really smooth. Whereas in a passive console like this, they were telling me that you could go 15, 20 years and not need hardly anything done to this thing. And if something does go wrong with this thing, it's relatively cheap to fix. So yeah, so in hindsight, I'm kind of glad I didn't go with it, but it wasn't deliberate as far as, I don't want motorized faders. I want to make sure I get, passive faders. It wasn't that. It really came down to what my budget was at the time for a console and what features were available. And there is no console out there with motorized faders for less than $100,000, not 32 channels, not even close. So that was the reason. I couldn't afford it. I love Chris Lord Alge's mixes. Yeah, and Chris Iris, I6 Forever Blue Up. Yeah, everything that guy mixes, I think sounds great. I think it sounds great. Yeah, anything moving will eventually break down. I know a guy who had I forget what version console he had, an SSL with motorized faders, and he sold it and bought an Origin. And he told me it was because of the faders. He did that. Like, he made it, he was deliberate. He said, I don't want motorized faders. They're a pain in the ass. He was telling me, you know, you think when you recall and everything, it's accurate, it's not accurate. They get stuck. Sometimes they don't move very well. He was telling, so he says he got rid of his and bought an Origin just for that reason, which I thought was like, wow. So I was really kind of surprised. He didn't like the motorized faders. And he was, and I said, well, and then I said to him, well, how do you deal with the automation at that time? And then he's the one that turned me on to the West Audio NG levelers. That's how I really first heard about them. I heard about the product. I knew conceptually what it did, but I never knew anyone that used it with a console. He was the first guy that I met. There was a studio owner that sold his SSL, whatever the hell he had. It was probably an older one. It got an Origin and then used the NG levelers as his way to do automation. And I was like, oh, and that's how I got into that whole thing. But yeah, that's a true story. We thought there was a console issue recently, but after 8 hours of troubleshooting, yeah, we thought there was a console and it wasn't. We thought we had a problem with an insert switch or two, and it wasn't the console at all. Well, we thought it was, but it wasn't. But yeah, I haven't had any problems with this. Not one. It's a great console, and it sounds really good. And I like working on it. It's really as simple as that. And once you work on a console, it's hard to want to go back in the box and use a mouse. Brian has a new SSL interface with the Alpha 8. Nice. So I'm almost ready to dive onto the outboard gear. I'm excited. There you go, man. When you're ready to get into outboard gear, look me up. Look me up. I can help you get hooked up. Good for you, man. That SSL 18 is really nice. Soft tube console 1 faders are the closest thing I'd get to something that are moving parts. I have no idea how I'd fix a console in the country. Yeah, well, you know, depends. If you got to have a tech that could come out and service them. And, you know, they got techs all over the world, in every state and every part of the world. But that can get expensive. You know, unless you could do it yourself. Some people are crafty enough and they're skilled enough that they can, you know, replace parts themselves and do their own maintenance, and that's cool. But yeah, I wouldn't want to have to do that. I wouldn't want to have to do that. And like I said, again, for me, it wasn't even about that. It was about I couldn't afford the console. The console was $100 grand. It's too much money. Too much money. Too much money. I just could not justify that kind of an expense. And now in hindsight, I'm glad I didn't do it. Not that I wouldn't have enjoyed having automation and recall and all that. I would have enjoyed having that stuff, but yeah, no. I don't know that I would ever upgrade this to a console like that, even if the pricing was even relatively close. There's more problems that can go wrong. And for the automation part of it, the West Audio NG levels do really well. You know, it works perfectly. So you're using Logic on an old Mac Pro. Oh, cool. With IK Multimedia Waves and Arturia. So do you think I can still get a decent mix compared to what you have in your amazing studio? Yes. Go watch any of my courses at Home Recording Made Easy. You know, you can get great mixes with plugins. This stuff doesn't help you if you can't mix well. This just sounds different. That's all. It just sounds different. And actually, again, I'm telling you, again, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just telling you, the new Mixing with Analog Style Plugins course, the track that we used in that course, it's a country tune. It's like a country rock kind of a tune. country pop, that thing. Really good song. Anyway, I have the original, and you will have, if you buy the course, I have the original, the commercial release of the song that was mixed professionally by a, world famous mixing engineer. And I didn't turn on that reference track until I was about 80% done with the mix in the box using, the analog style workflow. And towards the end when we turned it on, I was shocked how close I got to that reference track on the first try. It was really close. It was really close to what their analog mix was. Not the mix that I did on my console, but what they did was really close. There's little differences, but I was really surprised. And I even said it in the course. I was like, wow, I'm surprised I'm this close on the first try. Usually with a reference track, especially in my training courses, especially in the beginners courses, we spend a lot of time referencing because I'm trying to teach ear training to the student, right? It's not about, in some respects, it's about trying to copy the reference, but not exactly, not because I want you to copy somebody else's mix, because ultimately you don't want to do that. It's really more so people can develop their ears to hear things very critically and pick things out of a mix and then figure out, well, how do I get that sound on my own? And then once you know how to get that sound, you could decide whether you want to do that or not, right? You don't have to, and it's not the point. But in that particular course, I didn't do that. We went through the whole mix and did everything we were going to do, blah, blah, blah. And then right before we put the lead vocal in, I turned on the reference. I just wanted to see, I think we were talking about their electric guitars, and I had them panned really hard left, right, and I thought to myself, and I said on camera, I would be surprised if the guitars were panned this far. They almost sounded like it shouldn't have been panned that far. So I said, let's turn on the reference track, and I was shocked how close the mix was. Really, genuinely like, oh wow, this is way closer than I thought it was going to be. And then ultimately I did pan the guitars in a little bit, but anyway. So the reason why I say all of that is because the answer to your question is yes, if you know what you're doing and you have good mixing, you got good skills as a mixer, you can get really great mixes with plugins. And if you don't believe me, go download the free course so you don't have to pay for anything, so people don't think I'm trying to sell you something. Go download the free 90-minute course where all I use is a stock EQ. And when you hear the mix at the end of that, now does that mix sound like working with all your third-party plugins or work with all the analog gear? Not exactly. I mean, let's be realistic, but it sounds great. It really does. So the whole point of that is, because the EQ is the most important tool you have as a mixer, in my opinion. If you know how to use an EQ and you understand basic panning and you know how to use reverb and stuff to give yourself a little bit of depth in the right areas, you can get a mix that sounds really good. Assuming that that you have again, you have a decent song, it's well recorded, well produced, well tracked, you can get something that sounds great. You don't need all of this. This sounds different, but it's more than the sound, it's the workflow. Working with this, for me, is way more inspiring and fun than working with plugins. But it's not about, well, it just sounds so much better. It sounds different. It doesn't sound so much better. I think it sounds better, but I'm biased. It's subjective. You may think the plugins sound better, and that's very valid. So, yes, you can get great mixes if you know what you're doing. I totally get 100 grand's a lot. You ain't kidding. I felt silly getting a console one. And that's only what, like $500 or something like that. The console one, $800. Yeah, no, I know. Trust me, when I bought this, even at $49,000, that was at that time in my business career, was the single largest purchase I ever made on anything in my studio. That was that's a price of a nice car. You know what I mean? Think about that. In early 2000s, I think, or late 90s, my first condominium, when I moved out of my parents' house, 1-bedroom condo, was only $42,000. Think about that. This cost more than my first condo I lived in. This was more money than my first mortgage payment as a young man out in the world for the first time. So, how times have changed. What about clearing analog pots for every song? What about clearing, at least a cleaning, every pot project, opposed to having recall that does not have a lot of work? What about, let me read this again. What about clearing the analog pots for every new song project as opposed to having recall that become a lot of work or it's not a big deal? It's a big deal if you do lots of recalls. I don't do lots of recalls. In 5 years, I've done 2. And I have a video on the channel about that too. The video's a few years old. And that was one video I thought about redoing because it was very controversial. And I was wondering if any of my thoughts have changed since that video. And I watched the video again and they haven't. So I didn't redo it. And I think the video is titled something like how to avoid recalls, become a better engineer, or something like that. It was very clickbaity. But everything in that video is 100% the way I run my business with clients to this day and even back then. And so I don't do a lot of recalls. Now, that's there. If you work in a situation, like I have a couple of friends that work in Nashville and they're mixers in Nashville. Like, who's not a mixer in Nashville, right? And these guys work on, 7 mixes, 10 mixes a week, every single week, sometimes 2 to 3 a day. They have to be all in the box. There's no way you could do that on a console like this. There's no way you would even want to do that on a console that had some recall. It's too manual, right? So if you work in a workflow like that, this is not for you. Not for you. So there are people that need to do lots of recalls. In my situation, that doesn't happen because it's really one song at a time, one project at a time. We make a commitment. The client makes a commitment to the mix. We make all the changes. Once they sign off on it, we send them the mix. It's a snapshot in time. We don't now 3 months from now go back and turn up the hi-hat 2 dB because you didn't hear that in the first, you know what I mean? We don't do that. I can do that. And I have done it twice. And it took about 45 minutes to recall the session with all the gear. And that was before I got the Flock Audio patch bay. That probably would take about 15 minutes off of the recall. So it would probably take me about 30 minutes to recall this session. But I don't do them. I don't do them. If you go watch that video, you'll hear how I avoid it. It's not because I refuse to do them. I have a whole process. I don't want to bore people with that here. Go watch that video, Jim, and I think you'll understand why I don't do them. But for some folks, it's a non-negotiable. They have to be able to recall. And then if you have to be able to do lots of recalls, you don't want this. You could do it, but you don't want this. You'll spend more time recalling than you will do anything else. And when you recall stuff analog like this, it's not 100%. It's not identical. Now, there are ways around this so you can still work this way and not have to recall the board. Like this particular console has direct outs on every channel. So you can process everything, print all the directs back in, and then if you have to recall something, you can redo it in the box. There are ways around it. There are some workflow ways around where you can still use a console like this, and the recall process is way easier. It's a little clunky. Sometimes it's a little more hassle than what it's worth, but it could be done. I don't do any of that stuff. I really try to do, the way I work is very much old school, before there was recall. That's how I like to work. And I just have a business model that works that way for me and my clients, and I've never had a problem. But not everybody can work that way. And if they can't work that way, then you have to either use the workarounds that are built into this system with direct outs and printing stems and all that, or you got to go to an all-in-the-box rig. So I don't find it to be a big deal, personally. If you have nearly 77,000 subscribers, and I have 37, so what's your biggest advice for reaching a bigger audience? I don't know, because 77,000 subscribers, doing it for 13 years is nothing. Most of the channel, most of my competitors, and I put that in air quotes, all have well over 100,000. Some have multiple hundreds of thousands, and they've all been around 1/3 of the time that I've been around. I don't know how they did it, so I don't know how. The only thing I can tell you that I've done consistently, Fraser, is I just made sure up until recently, I did content every single week nonstop for years and never ever missed a week. Up until this year, that's what it's been for 13 years, and that's how I got 77,000 subscribers. But that's not a big number for the amount of time that I've been doing this. It's not. It's actually a pretty small number. But again, like I said earlier, I never tried. You know, my goal in life is not to have 100,000 subscribers. You know, so I could get the YouTube plaque. It'd be nice, but I don't lose any sleep over it. Hello there from Peru. How are you, Martin? Good to see you. Hey, from Alabama. What you said about your workflows is why I absolutely love Luna. Luna's a great DAW. Nexus, if Nexus Studio One, it's my favorite DAW by far. Even though there's some limitations in it still, and some people get cranky about that, but for what I would use Luna for, I love it. I like Luna a lot. Some amazing hardware is available now for much more than the price of plugins these days. I'd be careful about buying that hardware. You can find some gems, and most of that stuff you get what you pay for. In the hardware game, a lot of times you get what you pay for. And again, I'm only telling you that because if you've watched this channel and seen me I get my hands on a lot of this stuff, and I can tell you that that's true. Not in all cases, but in most cases. I kind of, when people want to get into hardware and they ask me my advice, I try to tell them, don't just buy the cheapest crap that's out there. And if you don't really have the budget to do it right, don't do it. Seriously, don't do it. Stay in the box. You'd be better off. That's not to say there's not some affordable quality pieces out there. There are. But not for the price of plugins. There's very little hardware out there for a couple of $100 or whatever a plugin costs today, right? That's worth even buying. Stick with the plugin. And that's just someone who's actually done both. I can tell you that. Save your money. Okay, let me see here. Let me see. Higher ground. Would you believe me if I told you I bought a house in New Jersey in 2018 for $33K? In New Jersey? No. On the East Coast? No, because I live in Connecticut. Good for you, brother. Good for you. What is the difference between regular music and music for television and movies? And how would one get into doing that kind of music? Difficult. What's the difference? I do both. So I've been doing music for TV and film, mostly TV, 10, 12 years. 10, 12 years ago was a much easier business to get into because they didn't have AI. So how you get into that, the way I got into that end of the business is such. When I first started, I joined a website, which I think is still around, called taxi.com. And taxi.com is a great place to learn the licensing business. It's a subscription where you pay a few $100 a year, and that gives you access to listings and a bunch of stuff. But more importantly, it's a treasure trove of information and people that can help you, and you meet other members, and it's a nice community to learn that end of the business. And then you can also submit your music to different projects and stuff in the music business, in the TV film business. And I did that for a few years. I never got any placements through Taxi. Every time I submitted it, it got rejected, but I learned a lot. And what I learned was, when you are submitting to a listing in that community, if your music gets rejected, the A&R people actually write you an email and tell you why it got rejected or what you could do better. So it was really great to learn. And what I learned was a couple of things. Number one is that for the most part, at least the music that I do, most stuff that I do is less than a minute long. They call stingers. They're usually bumpers between in and out of commercials or in between scenes. Most of the stuff that I do is beneath dialogue going on in the visual. So most of the stuff that I would do would be instrumentals, not vocal based because of that. And when you write music for yourself and you just write a song that you like, more times than not, that isn't the stuff that gets placed, at least for me. When you have to write to spec or to a requirement from a music supervisor, it's a way different thing. But now, since the invention of AI, I think that's one of the places in the music business where the guys like me that, okay, so a TV show or a movie, if they want to have, if they're a big budget, they may want to have a Rolling Stones song in there, and then they pay the Rolling Stones an ungodly amount of money to license one of their songs or any hit artist. But a lot of the smaller shows, cable shows, they can't afford those kinds of licensing deals. So they would go to independents where they'd say, we need a song that sounds similar to the Rolling Stones' Satisfaction. You can't copy it, make a cover of it, but you want to make a song that sounds like it could be a Stones riffy kind of a, slanky kind of a 70s type of a vibe. And it sounds kind of Stone-ish, right? And they would use a piece like that because they can use it at a fraction of the price. But now with AI, you can have AI create the music, and I think that's where a lot of the music is going to get taken from, because typically in TV and film, at least in my experience, the music is always the last thing to get picked. And usually it has to be done in a very short amount of time. They usually don't give you a big deadline. It's not like a music supervisor goes, oh, I need a song for a scene and give it to me in 4 weeks. They need it in 24 hours because they're on real tight deadlines in that business. At least they used to be. And so now they just pump it in AI. So to get into the business now, the only way I would think that you can maybe do it is you want to look for like different music libraries and places where you can submit your catalog, and try to get in that way. But it took me like 3 or 4 years to get into that end of the business. And that was before AI. So I hope that answers your question. Doing that a lot of people want to do that because they think, oh yeah, I just get money every month, every quarter. I just get lots of royalties. Again, yes, that does happen, but it usually, unless you get lucky, takes years to build up that kind of placements to where you're making halfway decent money. It takes years. Unless you know someone, like if you know a producer or you know a television supervisor at a network or something like that, and you can get the fast track in, maybe it's different. But yeah. You're very welcome. Anytime. You'll definitely get that 100K plaque. I doubt it. I don't think I'll be on YouTube in the next 5 years to get a 100K plaque. Who knows? Maybe. Yeah, Luna is solid. I couldn't use it for sound design. It's such for mixing is killer. You're in Reaper. Oh, cool. Yeah, almost every DAW out there is great. They're all pretty much the same these days. They all pretty much do the same thing. It's just some of them do it in a little different way. So it's really a workflow thing, right? Really a workflow thing. Amazing sounding as a DI, a wire. I can confirm that build quality is trash, but it's not the trash sounding gear. Okay. Cool. That's okay, Audio Freaker. No problem. We all think of things differently. Buy whatever works for you, works for you. On original music. Okay. I'll let you know, but I usually don't do anything with vocals. Just use cowbell. That's what I do. Cowbell. Right on my MIDI controller. Oh man, I'm at the end of the chat. All right, man. Do we have anything else? Anything else you guys want to talk about? If not, I'm going to head out of here. It's good catching up with everybody. yeah, once again, stay subscribed to the channels. Again, Mix Music Analog. There'll be some videos coming soon because I do have 3 gear demos I do need to do that I committed to do that I'm going to do. So there'll be some. But beyond that, I'm not really sure what will happen on the Mix Music Analog channel moving forward. But I'm sure there'll be something at one point. Home Recording Made Easy will be more active on YouTube. But I may take a little more of a break. Maybe another month or so. Maybe by the end of the summer, I'll get back into the YouTube thing. Who knows? In the meantime, make sure you go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com, get your free mixing course. Get the course. Check out all the courses if you want. If you have any questions, you can certainly email me through the website. If you need anything else, I do private training. We talked about all that stuff. So anything you guys need, I can do. Just let me know what you need. And I'd be glad to help in any way I can, man. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your summer. And stay safe and stay healthy, everybody. Okay, a couple more questions and we'll get out of here. Okay. Can I say something about the Virtual Mix Rack and Slate plugin bundle subscription? It's great. It's the best plugin bundle on the market for the money, in my opinion. Always got to say that because people get excited. That with the SSL plugins, that All Access Pass, I've been using them for years. If I only had to buy one bundle, that would be the one I would buy. They're really good. Really good. There's not a bad plugin in the batch, I think. So yeah, love it. Love the Virtual Mix Rack. I've been using the Virtual Mix Rack long before when it first came out. I've been using Slate plugins from the day Slate plugins started putting out, Slate Digital put out plugins. I was using his plugins, and they're great. They're fantastic. Dave, do you do different plugin tutorials? Yeah, if you follow Home Recording Made Easy, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of plugin demos. Done lots of them, hundreds and hundreds of them. Depends on the plugin. I get emailed from plugin companies weekly about doing plugins, and I turn most of them down because, again, it's just there's nothing exciting about the I have all the plugins I'll ever need. So, you know, and the thing about if you're trying to get YouTube views and stuff like that, you got to put out the video the day the plugin comes out. And most times, unless you're inside with a company, you get advanced copies of the plugins. You're never the first one to put out the videos. Although I always get the plugin, I would always get them in advance. But yeah, I've done so many plugin demos. It's crazy. It's stupid. And so unless it's a plugin that I love to use and I really like, I don't do them anymore. There's not. How many more channel strips do we need by the next company? How many more 1176 plugins do we need? How many more LA2As do we need? I mean, every company makes them. And they all do a pretty good job of it too, by the way. And, you know, and everyone has their favorites. And, you know, I have my favorites, but they're all good. There are no bad ones out there as far as I can tell. And so, yeah. Yeah, so unless there's something that comes out that I go, that's really cool and different, and I'd like to do a video about it, then maybe I would. But yeah, I don't do a lot of plugin demos anymore. And I get asked to do them all the time. All the time. And I'm like, nah, let someone else do them. You know. Because I have to learn the plugin, do the video to get a few hundred views. It's just not worth it. But, you know, maybe one day I'll do them if something really cool comes out. When do you regularly stream live? I don't. I don't do it regularly. I do it whenever I have time or whenever the move strikes me. I don't do regular live streams. For no other reason than, you know, as I've been saying all night. The YouTube thing, I'm kind of burned out. I've been doing it for too many years, and it's just like, unless I'm really want to get on here and do something, I don't want to do them regularly. I used to do them really regular. I used to do them, at one time, I was doing them every 2 weeks. I did that for a long time. and you just run out of things to show and run out of things to talk about, you know? So yeah, I don't do them regularly, but I do them occasionally. And when I do, and then, you know, again, you can always watch the replay if you don't see them live. When will the next one be? I don't know. Probably not for several months, I wouldn't think. Although that's not true. There will be one coming, the songwriting and production course is done. And we're going to do some live streams to promote that course at Home Recording Made Easy, probably in July. There will be a couple of live streams really solely to talk about this new songwriting and production course that's coming out. To answer questions, to show clips from the course and that kind of thing. So it's more of a promotional live stream to let people know about this new course. So that'll happen. That'll happen for sure. And we'll probably do a couple of live streams before that comes out. That course is not due to come out for sale until right around Labor Day. But we'll be promoting it earlier than that, and we'll do some live streams along with that. Yeah, for sure. But but aside from that, there probably won't be any other just kind of hangout live streams. Nothing on my radar. Nothing I'm planning right now. Anyway, but that's not to say the mood won't strike me in 3 or 4 weeks and I'll jump on and do one. We'll see. We'll see. So anyhow. Again, I want to thank everybody so much for joining me for another one of our impromptu live streams. Again, I appreciate all of your support as always. And if you need me, you know where to find me between the two websites. You can always email me. I'll be glad to help you in any way I can. And enjoy your summer. And until we meet again, thank you so much. Enjoy the videos that are out there. And I'll talk to you guys sometime in the near future. See you later, everybody.